Well, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone is nice and warm on this awesome August Women's Month. And we are so exciting to have another session of our Property Pulse. And of course, we're going to be jam-packed. And I have a guest this morning that will be joining us to tell us a bit more about tools. Now, one thing that I'm sure is that for rental agents has got a lot of work and it keeps them busy all the time. And if we can find out anything that can reduce administration, help you work at more advanced
Okay.
levels, and as well, what I've realized is more and more people are becoming more and more creative with the fraud. I see sometimes if I see some of the things that's coming through, I really feel bad for agents that has to put on a CSI hat and have to jump in and really scrutinize things. So if there's tools in the market, we're going to have a look at it. And the next three sessions, this month and the months to come, I'll be looking at different tools and I'll be speaking to different people. But today's one is quite exciting because they just launched a new product through Property 24. And so it's amazing to be here. But in the chat, before we jump into it, please say good morning. Tell us where you're from. Thank you for everyone that's joining us. Robin, it's nice to see you online. Lindy, Tina's, welcome. Bev, I love it. And of course, please remember in the bottom you have a reaction button. So don't be shy. If you like something, give us a reaction. Let us see those hearts. Let us see the coffees. Let us get a hand clap. Anything to that effect is always nice to have interaction. I laugh and say I would not have been a good radio personality because we love the energy in the interaction. So that's great. Good morning, Bianca from RealNet. Joanette from Renter Property. Oh, Trafalgar from Pretoria. Welcome. It's nice to have you guys online. Tina's leapfrog is even with a green heart. I love it. Um, so welcome very, very much for being here. So this morning, I have Ross Fitzgerald online with me this morning, and I hope there. Let me see if I can see his face. I've got too many things open this morning. It's going crazy. Um, the Ross and Preferental started in 2017, and Charles is the CEO. Ross is the CEO and founder of Preferental. So, and I know he flew down, and he's currently in East London. Although they're based in Randburg, they joining the Lightstone Roadshow to tell people actually what you are getting this morning. So if you lost, if you weren't able to attend a Lightstone event, now you get some insights. Hey, that's amazing. So Ross, welcome this morning. Are you there? Shame I
Morning,
told the
Elise.
form. There you are. I couldn't find you for a moment, and I thought, I threw you under the bus.
It's awesome.
Welcome.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking the time in your very busy schedule. And I mean, our Expeller clients, we always want to know what's going on. We want to have our finger on the pulse, and that's why our agencies are some of the best performing agencies out there. So, Ross, before we jump in into your new amazing solutions and that you are offering, tell us a bit about Preferental background. I think this is actually, I'm going to just do that for a moment, then I can see you properly. It's much
Awesome.
better. Ne?
Much better. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, let me share a bit about Preferental. We started the business in 2017 with a heart of building solutions for the industry. And our first entry point was looking at data. And we found that 70% of landlords manage their own properties. And that was sort of the entry point is let's go to the end client, learn the challenges that they face, and then eventually start building out solutions. So in 2021, we raised funding with Capitec. And in 2023, we got Property 24 as investors. And this backed our entire journey of how do we then start building solutions for the industry. So spending 8 years with the end consumer, really going to the detail, understanding the process flows, what's the challenges, the risk regarding finding the right tenants, and also in real life experience, learning what impact that has on the client has really empowered us to build a solution that we've been privileged enough to build a white label solution for Property 24, which we've had live on their platform for the last almost 3 months. So yeah, it's been an exciting journey. We've always had rental preferential promise. So our strategy has always been around embedding insurance. So how do we create solutions that deliver true peace of mind? And the learnings that we've gone built through that actually enables us to keep on building out additional products for the industry. And yeah, the screening solution is exciting. We personally gone through the pain points of doing manual tenant vetting, understanding how time consuming that is, what's the cost involved, and yeah, it's been amazing getting the feedback from various agencies that started using the system, getting the Property 24 customers, and then also the engagement with our own customers and how they've experienced the screening solution.
Okay, Ross, so I'm super excited to see your screening solution because, I mean, I see so many agencies. I mean, they have that person, né? Agencies got that person. They go scrutinize everything, and we rely on that person. And then that person either gets sick, they marry, or they move on, and then suddenly the agency feel it because the new people come in, they don't have that experience to immediately know, oh, FNB bank statement, this one is fraudulent. Because a lot of people say, at least I've seen 100 or thousands of bank statements, I know when it's fraudulent. But the problem is that's linked to that person. So if that person isn't there the day and a bank statement comes in, if there's not something real, I mean, that's a problem. And your solution can actually solve all of this. So please share.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point you mentioned. When you've got a dedicated resource doing that, and we've experienced that as well, when there's another team member sort of supporting for that 2 or 3 weeks that the person's on leave, suddenly there's a lot of gaps opening up in the business. And the person working with the daily understands sort of what to check for, what to see, if there's a logo changing or there's font that changed. So yeah, that's a very valid point. I haven't actually brought that into any of my conversations, but what's spot on there.
It's just we know the pain points, and it's things that happens. I think that's why I always I know systems and AI is there to help us. It can't take over our job, but we should use the tools, and I think we should use it to the best that we can, especially if we want to grow our business.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good question. How do we grow and scale our businesses? How do we build efficiency? How do we save cost in the business? And how do we not lose out on those opportunity costs? So I think today is all around the screening. How do we ensure that we do faster screenings, place more tenants, bring more revenue into our businesses, and enable our companies to effectively grow? And then also looking at the next level of risk. So tenants onboarding, we've always said that ideally you probably want to ask a double deposit, because you always have that tenant moving out the last month and they go like, but you've got my deposit, I don't need to pay rental for this month because I believe there's no damages. And then it's just the hassle of, like, if you want to take legal action, that's cost for your client. So there's risk exposed. And I think the exciting thing about this product is you can actually ask a double deposit and then make it really easy for the tenant to sign up on that and pay the deposit off for up to 10 months while you have full certainty from day one. So very excited for today and to sharing the insights on our screening solution.
Okay, so definitely, and I think everybody now heard, oh, deposits and payoff and things, guys. That's why I want you here, and please afterwards we want those feedback. But I'm very excited about this product. I have to say, Ross had asked me a couple of times of, our inputs, what's work, what is our fears, and where we see the risk, from Expello's side. And I have to say, I think they've got a very good solution. So, Ross, can I ask you to share the screen? And let's start off with the screening solution that people can use. And I want to add this as well. If I understand it correctly, this is something where the agent can use, and when you do your screening, one of the tools they can use.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a standalone system. It's on the back end, so it's no client facing. It's very similar if you think about PayProp. It's a tool that you can use in your own environment. You can manage your properties, and it basically just provides efficient services and solutions for your clients, real-time payments. So they've got an amazing product. And I think Preferental, the screening solution, so it's important to note that we've got the Preferental website, and then we've launched this platform called screenings.preferental.com. And it's a system that the agents can use. It's a free system. They can add multiple team members to the same profile. And it's something that the end customer does not see. This is purely a tool that tenants can do applications and that supports you in real time.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay, excellent. So let me get started. So firstly, I just want to talk around AI and tenant vetting. So what are we looking at? The risks, the rise in fraud, and then the solutions that we could either manually do or that a system like this could assist you with. I've mentioned that Preferental started in 2017, and we've got financial backing from Capitec and Property24, which I think is big players in sort of the vision and the direction we're going with this business. And it's nice knowing that we've got brands like this trusting Preferental Technologies to deliver solutions for the industry. So first of all, when we look at tenant vetting, we all know that as agents, we are safeguarding our landlords against financial and property risk. So we need to ensure that we've got the right protection processes. And then you look at the traditional methods of doing an application. You'll send an application form, a tenant will complete that, send their supporting documents to you. And most of the time, you have to follow up with additional documents. Once you've got that, you go into TPN, you run your risk report. Now you've got your TPN and your supporting documents, and then you need to start looking through the bank statement. And like you said, we all have that investigator in our office. It works through the bank statements, looks at logos changing, fonts changing, looking at the balances. And once you've sorted that out and you're confident, then you can also, the struggle is around employment. So getting HR over December is a nightmare. And most of the time when you get to not getting hold of HR, you have to start doing a confidence level test. So, okay, payslip says that this person is working at that company. We've got the salary showing in the bank statement. I sort of feel confident about the bank statement not being fraudulent. And then based on that assumption, I can then have a fair confidence level that this person could be employed at that company. And sometimes the credit report also shows you, okay, this person's last time they applied for something, they put this company there. And if they're still working at the same company, then that sort of increases your confidence level. And this process, and yesterday's session with Sean Late, where we had TPN and Preferental and RealNet on the call, there were so many examples of what additional steps agents are taking to ensure that they are not getting fraudulent tenants into it. And it was quite amazing, probably shocking to see how much time is spent to ensure that the right tenant comes through the process and that you don't get fraudulent tenants into your rental leases for your landlords. So looking at today, technology has shifted quite a lot. AI and digital tools are changing the way that we do business. There's so many amazing tools in the sense of looking at Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. Myself, I've been using ChatGPT since it started, and they've got a great function where you can have a conversation, and you can ask Chat to write emails that you can respond to when you get to the office, or that you can forward on. You can have conversations around your lease agreements. There's so much productivity in that, but within saying that, there's also the downside where it can be used to create fake employment letters, fraudulent financial documents. And I've got a nice example here with a test or dummy bank statement that I just want to show the audience in terms of what the tenants are capable of doing today. And all of this is picked up through our screening. So every day we see new tools that tenants are using to fake their bank statements. And then ID the same. So you can literally load an ID on with a photo on any of these tools and ask them to generate a ID document for yourself. And then the scary thing is, Elise, this happens in minutes and not hours. So in the old days, when we asked for a specific supporting document and it took them a few hours or days to get back to us, you could have gone and said, okay, why is it taking this person so long just to send his ID? if you're serious about this, or his employment letter, etc. And all of this is now sent back to you within minutes. So suddenly that sixth sense that you had regarding why is it taking long is out of the door. And this is an example of a tenant who literally uploaded their bank statement onto a tool called PDF Candy. Bank statement was generated. You can see there's nothing wrong with this bank statement, and you can literally go and just change your salary. You can do the same on your payslip. You can create an employment letter, and if anything on this tool goes whack in terms of your structure, you can easily align that. And there's so many lines to make sure that it just fits in perfectly. So this is just a good example of as agents, we are exposed to tenants having the ability to do stuff like this. And so what is the problem for agents and then landlords as well is specifically on agents, we're looking at reputational damage. So there's a loss in trust in our business. We deal with this this difficult situation of, okay, how did you guys screen this tenant? Why did they get into the property? How did you miss that this logo was 2 millimeters to the right compared to the rest? And like, did you not check your work? And like you said earlier, if a support staff is helping out with the screenings, not only does it take longer, but it's also there's opportunities where they could slip through. So then we sit with the unpaid rent. As agents, we have to now sort out the customer, keep the client happy. We need to get involved with the attorney or potentially expeller. And it's this long process of like, how do we get this tenant out? So it's, from a legal perspective, it's very complex. And then if you've got a fraudster into your property, you're most probably going to sit between 6 to 12 months to try and get that person out of your property. So it's important that we understand the times that we're living in and sort of what we're fighting against in terms of making sure fraudsters don't come through the various checks that we've got in place. And then the question is like, how are you protecting your clients when data from the industry is showing that 40% of all applications are deemed fraudulent? And by just showing you the simple example of this bank statement, I always say that tenants don't always go out and say, I want to be a fraudster, I want to like fake this and get into the property. But you look at the economy, you look at tenants knowing that I know I can pay this, but if I can just increase my salary with another 4,000 rand, I can pass affordability, and don't worry, I'm definitely going to be paying the rent. And they can do all of this, and they can slip through the cracks, and they're confident. So it's not that they go in to say that I want to commit fraud. It's just, how do I just tweak something just to get into this property because I'm confident I can pay this? And it's our job to identify whether people are sincere and honest around the application. And that also speaks a lot to someone's character. So looking at AI tools, the tools that I mentioned, like Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude, is there for it can be used for fraud protection, and that's what we sort of embedded into our system. Is how do we detect fraudulent documentation, manipulation of the documents, and then flag that as it's a major concern. And then on the flip side is this amazing tools that changes lives, changes productivities in businesses, can also be used for fraud creation, which enables tenants to provide these fraudulent documents. So as agents, we need to stay ahead of technology, and we need to evolve with the times where we're going. And if I had to get a bank statement like the one I just showed you 5 years, 6 years ago, I'd probably let that go through because everything made sense on that bank statement. And there's nothing, if you look at the document itself from the naked eye, nothing looks wrong. And that's why we as Preferental decided, let's embark on this journey to build a solution that can actually assist the industry and flag these type of documents. And then we need to be comfortable with adopting new technologies, because if we don't, we're going to be left behind, and we're going to be the agencies that get all those fraudulent tenants coming to our franchise. Mm. So just some practical tips before I log into or just show you the screening solution is, I think in general, it's really important to make sure that we understand ID checks. So tools like TPN is amazing. They also verify the ID for us as agents. You can use on the document. So if you open up your your bank statement, if you right click, there's document properties, and on that you can actually see what type of tool was used for this document. And most of the time you could, like, if there's Microsoft Word, it's definitely going to pick it up. If there's Canva, I love PDF Candy, you should be able to see that from the actual document. So this is just some practical tips that we picked up in our journey, that agents can also use to see whether this document was potentially tampered. But within saying that, it's a good first level check. But you also have AI tools that can adjust the content creator of these documents. So if someone's sees that the document has got this specific wording, and they adjust the document on the tool I showed you, there's another tool that they can use to actually overwrite that producer document. So it's a good initial check, but know that you are still exposed to some potential fake documents. And then making sure financial records match. So payslip, is the salary paid into the bank statement? Now you've got a level of confidence. Is the salary reflecting in the bank statement? And does the balances sort of add up in that? And then lastly is like verifying the employment. So we always say use publicly listed numbers and not a cell phone, because that could be a friend faking as a HR individual to confirm employment. So within saying all of this, these checks are manual, and it does cost you time and money. And this is an opportunity cost for businesses to, one, have higher occupancy rates, so properties are vacant longer, and you're not in a position to grow your business if you're spending 2 hours going through documents. Well, it could be 45 minutes to 2 hours going through these documents and really trying to pinpoint. I think the lady from RealNet yesterday, just the detail that she'd gone through the documents, I was just like amazed at how much time is spent ensuring that they get the right tenant for their client. And on average, you do probably about 3 to 4 screenings per property before you actually place the tenant. So spending an hour per, it's 4 hours going through documents just to ensure that you don't get a fraudster coming through. Cool. So as Preferental, we've launched the tool. So if you wanted to have a look at this, these will share the link at the end of the call. But what we've done in the last 2 years is we said, okay, we've raised funding with Property 24, and we want to embark on this building the AI tool. So we took all the learnings of the last 9 years. We've engaged with agents that's been working with Preferental for the last couple of years. We engaged with our clients, and we obviously took our own learnings, and we built a solution that does all of the checks for agents in real time. So it's important to also note that we've got powerful integration partners into the system. So we're using TPN, we're using Experian, we do employment checks real time with SARS, and we use Home Affairs for the ID checks as well. So using the same data, just displaying it in a different way that we believe is more user-friendly, and that saves you time in terms of having a dashboard where you can see the specific results. So this is an example of a tenant that has, let me just go back, just share the process here as well. So as an agent, you log onto the platform, create your profile, and you can add team members. You can then send an application link to the tenant. And you can opt to there's 2 options. Either the tenant can pay, which we recommend, because then you get serious applicants through, or you can actually elect to pay on behalf of the tenant if your model is that I'm asking an application fee and I'll absorb the cost, because I'm maybe charging, I don't know, 600 Rand for the application. I'll absorb the cost because I want to save time within the business, and I want to make sure that we're doing the right checks. The tenant gets a link via SMS and email. They click on that, create a profile, and then if they elected to pay, they make a payment, and then they start with the process. It's a 6-step process. We get the consent. We ask the general application information, which allows our system then to generate the results. And once the tenant has uploaded their supporting documents and they literally click submit, so this process could take them anything between 5 and 10 minutes. Once they click submit, all of this happens in the back end. You are immediately notified about the results. This, again, is only you as the user, as the agent, see this, not your client. you get the results and you have a nice overview of this tenant. So on a initial view, I can see that this tenant is a low risk and I could potentially move forward with this tenant. So AI basically summarizes what all the data points we had a look at. We look at ID through Home Affairs, employment with SARS, validate the salary. We confirm that the bank statement hasn't been tampered with, and then we also do show you judgment, debt review, negative information. We give you a breakdown of what we found on the statement. In this case, it's the bank statement was verified as a true source. We do an affordability assessment in real time as well, showing you the disposable income and whether this tenant passed the affordability. And then we have so under employment, we also show you the HR details. So should SARS not be able to verify the employment, we give you the supporting documents and you've got these drill downs on a high level, judgments, credit activity, and then also financial status, showing the arrears, and then the credit amount. So how many accounts do they have, how many is in good standing, and what's the arrears. So this is a good tenant coming through. And the next example I want to show is just what does it look like when a tenant submits their application and there's some flags that we need to know. So we got a notification, this tenant came through and the second tenant. Immediately on a high level, you can see, okay, let's focus on this tenant because affordability, everything is fine and there's no flags. This tenant came through as a high risk, and we basically looked at the bank statement. You can see they've got a poor credit score. Bank statements are showing that we couldn't verify that. There's judgments against this person that's there on this dashboard. It's a quick overview, negative information, so any judgments, debt reviews, or unpaid accounts is flagged there. You can see disposable. So this tenant qualifies on affordability. Bank statements. This is where we basically picked up, okay, this person used an online tool to go and edit their bank statements. We show you what the tool is. You can get obviously the application detail. And then if you look at their credit report, the accounts they've got is one in arrears. They've got an arrears amount, a lot of inquiries over the last few months. And there's a judgment found on their profile. So what we bring into the industry is saying, here's a tool that does all of your checks. So checking bank statements, whether it's valid, phoning HR, that's gone. So you can get real-time employment verification through SARS. There's a nice overview. And you can also go into the credit report. So there's an option where, let me just go back, this option here. So you click on view report, it's password protected with the ID. So just put in the ID, which you can easily copy and paste in, and you can actually go into the detail and what's the accounts this tenant has sort of been defaulting on. And then what we've done is we said, okay, now that we've got this overview of the tenant, there's a deposit plus.
Ross,
and what is that?
I'm gonna stop you there before we go over to the deposit plus, because there's a lot of information in it and it looks absolutely amazing. What I've seen from the system and what is amazing about this is the fact that you have all the documents. So just to clarify and just to take one step back, it's as easy as you send a link to the tenant. So you purely complete the tenant's details. They send the details to the tenant. The tenant then go and upload all the documents, which is nice, is then they don't have to attach it to emails, because I don't know about everybody online, but emails is a nightmare. You have so many times people saying they send an email, then they allegedly you didn't get it, or maybe it's stopping because the attachments is just too big. So this is quite nice. They purely upload all of this, which I've seen. And Ross, on one of the things that we tested, what was quite amazing is the salary was verified, but then we actually saw and asked the bank statement, the salary doesn't reflect on the bank statement. And as you said, this is where it comes to say it's not verified. This income is not reflecting on the bank statement, so there's a problem. Saving you reading through all 20 pages to see if you pick up the salaries, né? Saving you easily 10 to 20 minutes. So that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, look, I think yesterday we had a case where there was a tenant who passed the affordability assessment, and we actually found the salary on the bank statement, and it's the example that I showed you. So the documents looked legit, salary was there, everything made sense. The person is actually employed at the company that they're stating, And then we reached out to the tenant just to say, look, we just want to, their salary was there, but it wasn't sufficient. Sorry. So the salary wasn't sufficient. And they said, no, they earn commission. And they gave us the documents. And our team looked at that and said, okay, he's earning 11,000, but there's additional almost 20,000 commission monthly. So that gave us the confidence. Okay, now this tenant can afford the property, but we looked at the bank statement, like something is fishy. Opened the bank statement, everything looked fine. And then we went into that section that shows you the risk. Let me just quickly go to that one. That shows you the risk in terms of like where, like what was used to edit this. And that's where we found this tool that the tenant is basically used to edit their bank statements. And this just gave us an idea to say, okay, something is wrong here. Let's investigate the tool. Immediately went onto the tool and saw that you can actually go and edit it and it doesn't change anything on the document. So it's a lifesaver for customers, for your clients, knowing that there's a system that immediately picks up if the journey of this document has gone through any form of manipulation.
Okay. And then just to clarify because there's amazing questions coming through, just on the SaaS integration that you guys have. So does it go verify that this person is actually employed? Because I mean, if you're employed, you get registered with SaaS. Hey, we have to all pay tax.
Yeah. So SaaS literally, we send them information. So based on what the tenant captures, we send them the information through and they then validate whether this person is employed at that company. We found one or two instances where SARS came back and said person is not verified. And then under the section of the employment, so let me just quickly go through that. Under that section, you can basically go and there we go. If you expand on this employment section, you can see the person's position, the employee number, company, and you also have HR's contact details. And what we found with those tenants, okay, nine out of 10 tenants, employment is, let's say, is verified, but this one person, employment is not verified. And that could be because they potentially started working at the company 2 weeks ago. So SaaS doesn't have the information, but you do have then a direct indication. Okay, here's the problem. Here's the details. Let's contact and confirm, screening done. And you sorted that within like under 10 minutes.
Okay, so Ross, I want to touch on some of the questions that's coming through. It's absolutely good questions. If the tenant upload the info to the app, can the agent get all the information for FICA purposes? If I understand you correctly, there where it says documents, you can go and download all the documents that the tenant actually submitted.
Yes, that's correct. So everything is provided to the agent. So you can literally go, there's your ID, there's your employment contract. We find that about 70% of tenants do provide their employment contracts. There's your pay slips and your bank statements. So everything is there for pickup purposes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's nice and easy. No emails is needed. Rudolph was asking a very good question. He's saying, is the TPN not required anymore? Should your system be used? So I think, and Ross, before I give you opportunity to answer, I think the amazing thing about that is, I mean, you said you integrate with TPN. Now actually take, in the past you used TPN. Now we're saying you can actually use more than one tool, but on one platform. So you can still get the same benefits from just using the system with all the same results. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, there's clear differences in the way we display the information. So there's certain key aspects that we bring to a dashboard. And then you've got TPN with their specific data points. So you look at TPN, they use TransUnion and Experience, and then they create a report that is valuable to the industry. I mean, we've been also using TPN for many years. So we use the same underlying data, displaying it different. But if you, so in this aspect, it's probably your decision. Do you want to go a level further and like do a TPN screening as well? Or are you comfortable with the screening results that you're seeing here? I think what we've done with the solution is we've had to build a product that can actually embed or where we could ensure that our insurance partner is confident to actually protect something like having a guaranteed deposit certainty from day one where tenants can pay it off. So we had to go and prove that our risk module and how we assess the risk using the following integration partners are sufficient enough to back the type of risk that we are embedding into the deposit plus. So yeah, I think to finalize the question, we're using the same information, and it's probably a personal preference whether you want to do an additional TPN report.
But Ross, what I hear you saying is Preferental has got an investment in the results here because you guys wanted, we're going to get you the deposit solution now that you want to offer. And you will not be able to offer that if you weren't happy with the results. So you guys want to give results that is good enough for your insurer.
Yeah, definitely. Like the last 8 years, we've been using predominantly what's it called, Experian for most of our credit checks, and we've had a 99% successful collection rate in rentals. So I think we were fairly good at identifying risk levels with tenants, and based on those learnings, we then said, how do we build it into the system, and then also back that with a deposit plus.
Natasha's got a very good question. How long does this process take? I mean, rental agents, and it's true, they need applications approved in a couple of minutes. I mean, things have to go out. There's a lot of pressure, high speed. Does this take very long?
No, you send the link, your tenant gets an email, SMS, they click on that. So I'd say from the point of opening up the application, if the tenant's got all their documents on hand, they can basically create a profile, go through the process of providing the information, and click submit within probably 10 minutes. And as an agent, you can be doing your viewing, you get a notification your application has been submitted, and you can have a look at that result and go, okay, let's engage with the tenant for a lease agreement. If they can pay the deposit, then I can cancel all of my viewings for the rest of the day. If they are committed to signing, or not the day, because it probably will take a day to sign and pay, but for the rest of the week, I can cancel that. So the idea behind the solution was to provide real time. And like I said, if you're doing viewings, you can actually also on your phone go and see, okay, cool. Tony has actually submitted, low profile, low risk, and we can potentially go ahead with him. So it's really taking away the noise and just creating focus for agents as well.
Ross, what I'm hearing is you guys are saving time, because if you look at the old traditional way, the tenant, the applicant emails the application form or sends the application gets completed. They return it with all the documents. That's when you do your TPN check, you go through the bank statements. Now all of that is taken away. You send a link, they complete it, they upload the documents, you get the results, bank statements has been verified, all of that. Now you can start processing the data where you're already saving quite a couple of minutes. So that sounds amazing.
Look, and I think if we look at,
Ross.
If you're doing viewings in the week, let's say you do a 6:30 viewing or a 5:30 viewing, tenant's interested, you send them the link. They're obviously going to be any time to complete that night after dinner. They complete the application form. And once they click submit that evening, you are immediately notified that, and you can see the results. Or the next morning when you get to office, drink your coffee, you say, oh, wow, they actually completed it. So next step is sending out the lease agreement and getting them to pay the deposit. So it's exactly that, yeah.
Just for interest's sake, does the tenant see the results?
They see the results. They don't see the detail regarding the bank statements and what tools have been used. So we specifically took that module away from the tenant, so they can see that everything is maybe good, but your bank statements was unverified. And from the agent perspective, we then show you what has been used to edit the document. So the nice thing is, tenant can also submit, and they immediately know that they're potentially not going to qualify for this property. Or they can see, okay, my salary is a concern. Let me then just email the agent and say that, look, I do have additional income. Here's the supporting documents for that. So it's really around creating that flow in the application process and giving both sides of the platform the opportunity to immediately see what the potential risks are on this application.
And if the tenant is a fraudster, they're going to go, okay, let me move on to another agency that isn't so up to that's not as clever.
We
Yeah, I
actually had a
noticed.
tenant
Yeah.
that, sorry, we actually had a tenant where the bank statement, and we said, look, we couldn't verify. Can you please just send us the regional bank statements? And they, yeah, just came because our system picks up that these are not valid bank statements, and they said, "Oh no, we'll move on to another property," and we never heard back from them. So yeah,
What about self-employed clients? Will this work for somebody that is self-employed?
yeah, we do have a module on self-employed. So when the tenant goes through, the either South African or foreigner, they'll go to employed, self-employed, or pensioner. The confidently, I can say that the employed version is what we've demoed here. On the self-employed version, it's we get all the information. The only thing that we are in the last probably 3 weeks that we started encountering with self-employed is people don't always have a payslip, or they potentially don't have an accountant that can give them a letter. So what we are doing now is engaging with agents and say, okay, what's the next build into the system to then help the typical self-employed individual? Because you get all the information. We ask for 6-month bank statements on the application, so everything is there. The only challenge we're finding with self-employed that don't actually do their accounting properly is that they can't provide you. But that's a challenge, whether you're using the system or
Mhm.
not. You need to go and sit and figure out, okay, how am I justifying to my client that the self-employed individual is actually earning enough income to support and pay the rental? And yeah, that's so we do have that module. But to be honest, I think from our tech perspective, we are looking at redesigning or implementing a process and checks that we could get more information from tenants when they can't provide the normal documents that we as agents expect from them.
Okay. Lerota's asking, some employers need permission before giving out information due to POPI Act. With your app, is the client required to sign give permission for the app to contract or verify employment in the application? Lerata, I think easy. Ross, please confirm if I have this correctly. When you send the link to the tenant actually then when he fills in the form, he gives all the necessary consent that you guys can go do your checks. From there on, your checks is through AI with SARS that you guys do. You don't physically contact the employment. So it's not that you need the employer's permission. You already have the permission from the person applying, and then the system goes through SARS and everyone to go check if the data is correct. So you don't need to phone the receptionist. You can still, please, just to verify, you can still do that. I don't say don't do the physical phone call checks. This is just a report. But is that a correct summary, Ross?
Yeah, look, I think the value is in, we've also encountered that you try to phone Vodacom to confirm employment, and there's like so many people that you need to get through. And sometimes they don't even do employment checks over the phone, and we understand why. And that's why you also need these documents to be completed. I think the fundamental difference between the system, Elise, is that we get the information the tenant provides us. And if you look at why do we phone employers? We phone employers on a landline so that we ensure we're talking to the right individual. So we don't use a cell phone if it's HR in Vodacom. We literally call Vodacom. So we need to have confidence we're talking to the right person. And then we want to ask them, like, is this person employed? Are they on your payroll? And that's the reason. And to ask that, we need certain documents. And what we've said is we designed this process to say, let's take the information the tenant gives us and checks whether SARS knows about this person if they're employed. If SARS says yes, then you can be phoning HR to confirm that, and they'll say exactly the same because that's the information the company submits to SARS. So in short, you don't need the additional documents, but we do ask quite a lot of, we require a lot of consent on the application process to actually go and run these checks.
We are getting very good questions, and our time is running out. So I just want to ask two more questions, and then we're going to get to the other exciting service that we want to rely. So everybody online, please, afterwards, we will, in our mailer, we'll see if we can answer some of those questions. Just on Rulof asking, will Expelo accept this results? Yes, we will. It contains absolutely what we need to know. There's affordability, general checking, and the risk. So we are very comfortable with this report and the results from this report. So we are very happy with that. Robin is just asking, Ross, now we see this on the system. How do we give a report to the landlord? Is this something you can export? Or how do you then convey this information to the landlord?
Yeah, so the team's currently building an export of this dashboard into a PDF profile, but this view report at the bottom, that's the deep analysis of the tenant. So that's the Experian report that we've taken. It's not branded as Preferental. It's an Experian report that you can send through to the client, and it gives them the risk profile, the accounts, judgments, defaults. All the information is on that report. So that with the supporting documents are the documents that can currently be sent to the client to say, this is why we see this tenant as a low risk and why we recommend this tenant. But again, through engagements like this, Elise, is where we're getting feedback from industry, from agents saying, I want to be able to share this beautiful dashboard with my client so that they can also see the summary, and our team's working on building that into the solution.
Okay. Ross, so let's jump. I know you, like I said, we have limited time, and so putting you on the spot, please tell us about your deposit solution. I'm so excited about it.
Okay, cool. Let me jump back. So what you've basically done is based on the risk analysis of this tenant, the tenant qualifies for a deposit plus or not. So deposit plus is before I jump into that, this is where the tenant can request a deposit plus. So the process we've built is you might have 5 tenants who you send the application link to because you're in a hurry, you've got 4 days to place a tenant. All of them have done the application. All of them are low risk. And now all of them can request a deposit plus to be approved from your side. You then have the option to say, I want to go with candidate 1. And for that candidate, you can go and you can approve the deposit. Once you go into the approval process, we tell you what the deposit requirement is for this tenant on this specific product. So typically it works out to a month and a half. And why we've built that is to build that additional security of, okay, there's enough funds for the rental. There's a half extra deposit for potentially damages or utilities that weren't paid if the tenant moves out. And the nice thing about that is you also don't get that tenant mindset of, but you've got my deposit, I don't need to pay rental, because they're actually losing more than their rental if they decide not to pay their last month's rent. Yeah, if they decide not to pay because they've got a month and a half deposit. But then we give the flexibility to add on top of that. So you can go and add utility cover, key deposits, additional deposits on that. And once you approve that, then we display to the tenant, this is the deposit, and they can and you've been approved, they can activate that. So let me just talk through what is the deposit plus. So over the last 2 years, we've seen that with the economy, we've got the two sides. As an agent, I want to ask a higher deposit to ensure my client's protected, but tenants can't afford that, and it becomes a negotiation thing. And most of the time, we want to just place. So yes, we need to earn commission, but we also want to ensure our customers are happy and they've got rent coming in to cover their bond. So it becomes a negotiation. At the end of the day, as agents, we are going and taking the risk because we're reducing the deposit just to get this tenant into the property. Beautiful thing about the deposit plus is it actually allows the tenant to pay their deposit off for up to 10 months. They can select 2 months, 3 months, or up to 10 months. And as the client, sorry guys, hope there's not noise coming through. And as agents, we have the full certainty that from day one, whether this tenant defaults on their deposit plus payment in the 2nd, 3rd, or 9th month, we have access to certainty that we can claim that full deposit that we approved on the system should there be any issues like unpaid rentals, utilities, or damages on the property. And then what we've done further is we've had a look at the experience that our clients and ourselves we've experienced over the last couple of years. Is we've got tenants passing away in their properties. We've had tenants being retrenched. And this product actually covers the balance of the lease agreement. And that's the beautiful thing. So tenant passes away in the 4th month. you've got 8 months left on the lease agreement. You now have to tell the tenant, please move out of the property. I'm sorry about your loss, but we need rental income for our customer. Our insurer actually covers the balance of that lease. So as long as that tenant remains in the property, they will pay the agent or the client, the landlord, by the agent, the monthly rental for the balance of the lease agreement. And that's the beauty of this. And then on the retrenchment, it's covered to a maximum of 4 months for involuntary retrenchment. It's a shorter of the balance. So if there's 2 months left on the lease, it will pay 2 months. If there's 6 months left, it'll pay 4 months of involuntary retrenchment. But that gives the tenant time to go and find another job where they can actually continue paying their rental, and the insurance product will basically cover that.
Ross, I am amazed because, we unfortunately had the incidents quite a couple of times that tenants passed away. And, you can be nice for 1 month and then you sort of have to have the conversation, say, well, are you going to vacate? And this is something I think that I haven't heard of something like this in the industry. So that's absolutely amazing. I've got a couple of questions that's coming up. Robin is asking, we invoice for the deposit on our PayProp system, which then holds the tenant deposit. How will this then affect? So will the deposit then still be paid out to the agency? How does that work?
So our insurer basically covers that deposit amount. And they cover the balance of the lease. So if your rental is 10,000, they take 120,000 worth of risk on from day one, and your deposit is 20,000. So that's an additional 20,000. So the way this product is structured is like, remember the back in the day you had to pay prop zero pay deposits, and basically you would if a tenant is approved on the deposit plus and they actually activate that, we generate a certificate that you can use as a claim at the end of the lease term should there be any defaults. But then on your side, you would most probably not invoice for the deposit because the deposit, remember, we don't have the deposit. We collect the deposit over the 10 months, and that goes into a trust account where interest is accrued. And at the end of the 10 months, if there's a claim, we then basically pay that through the insurer or the deposit collected. And then if the tenant vacates and there's no claim, that deposit and interest is paid back to the tenant.
Okay, so
sorry
just
about the noise.
No, it's fine. I know you had to find a spot there in East London before your event today. So so when they apply, they qualify. The tenant then signs up, and ideally then you can get 2 months, I think, easily. Just not just a month and a half, but say for 2 months. The agency then gets a certificate to confirm that this person now has got the deposit. So should the tenant vacate or they need to call on the money of the deposit, they will purely be in contact with you saying, listen, the guy died, he's retrenched, or they vacated, we need the deposit. Then the deposit will then be paid out to the agency, who will then pay it over to the owner. Of course, there will not be interest on the deposit because the deposit is not being held in an interest-bearing account. So that will be the difference on that, if I summarize that correctly. Ross?
Yeah, look, at the end of the term, if there is, like you look at any tenant, there's interest accrued on the deposit, and that always belongs to the tenant unless there's claims, and this follows the same process. So if you get to the end of the lease, and the tenant has, let's say the tenant elected to pay off over 6 months, pay the deposit, interest has accumulated for the 6 months. On month 8, they have an early exit out of the property. They just overnight leave. In every typical lease agreement has a early cancellation penalty fee that should be reasonable. And then so you've got access to that deposit to actually claim from that. So should you not find a tenant for 2 months and you've been actively in the market and you've asked for a double deposit, then there's your deposit.
Ross, I'm going to ask this, of course, from Expello's side, because we see this often. When we start with our processes, at a stage, we just focus to get that person out as soon as possible. And often our clients lose that 1 month of income, and we usually tell them, you've got your final statement, allocate that the lease has been cancelled, allocate the deposit towards the damages, whether it's now damage to the door or loss of income, it goes to that. That deposit will still be paid out to them, hey?
Exactly. Remember, the tenant is applying for a product where they can pay a specific amount to secure the lease agreement. Once they've paid that initial payment, that's where the insurer, we pay the insurer for the risk that we underwrite to them. And then we tell you, okay, here's your certificate. The tenant can take occupation because you've got the full certainty of the deposit. And then, so that's from day one. And then the tenant pays off their deposit over up to 10 months. So definitely that if the tenant then in 4 months still moves out of the property and you actually have damages and utilities and rental unpaid, and it comes to 2 months, then our insurer still covers that for 2 months on that deposit claim.
Ross, do you still have, I see we are 2 minutes to go to 10. Do you still have 10 minutes for me? Or 5 minutes. There's two good questions from very big agencies. The first question is the deposit plus only for the good tenants, or can this be used for somebody that went through a rough patch? For example, somebody that went under debt review, clearly they're paying all of their accounts, but of course, if you're under debt review, I mean, your status looks bad for quite a while. What is this? How strict are you guys with that, or is it only the cream of the crop?
Good question. We had that 2 weeks ago as well. So we are looking at a submission from the client's perspective. So typically the system goes on risk. It's not too strict, like only low risk tenants can qualify for this. We've brought it down to borderline of medium to high risk. But if the system's flagging this tenant as a high risk individual, remember, tenants get scored on the screening as well. So it's not just your credit score. It's like, were you honest in your bank statements? Is your affordability, can you afford that? And we build a score on that. And then based on that, the tenant might be a high risk on their risk profile, but their affordability is good. Their documents were all checked and they earn points through that. And then there's the risk profile. So it's not that we only have low risk tenants on the deposit plus, but if there's a case where judgment, all of that was found on the application, we're also looking at, this was a request, how do we get an agent to say they want to motivate for this tenant to go on to the deposit plus? So yeah, it's not limited to just good tenants. And we are, through engagements like this, just adding onto the platform for scenarios specifically like this.
Okay, and then Ross, another good question, because I mean, you guys do everything online and easy. The question is, when they have to claim against the deposit, I just want to clarify, do you have to jump through many hoops? How difficult is it to claim your deposit, or is it also an easy process?
No, it's a process where you basically start the claims process. You click a button to start the claim. But obviously, you'd have to provide proof of, let's say, a statement where the tenant is outstanding with the invoices. And then, as we all know, the Rentalising Act requires us to do an income and outgo inspection. So if you're claiming for damages, you need to make sure that you've done your incoming inspection that's signed by both the tenant and the agent. And those are basically the supporting documents that we need to let's process out the deposit payment. So if it's an application where invoices can't be proved, or there's income inspection hasn't been done, then legally we are not allowed to release deposits for damages if there's no incoming inspection done on that. So yes, it's an easy process.
Okay, so I'm very glad to hear that. I see a lot of people have to go. Ross, this was absolutely amazing. I want to quickly share my screen, and because I want to show you guys, I just don't want to share the right screen now. It's amazing how things go wrong if you suddenly try to be fast, ne? So I'm quickly sharing on the screen Ross's details. So firstly, I think there's quite a couple of questions that's come through. Please, there's the office number, there's an email address. You are welcome to send out an email to them, ask them for a more detailed demo about what's happening on the system, and to ask more about the deposit plus. He and his team regarding the cost, how it's calculated, all of that will be shared from Ross's side. Please stipulate that you attended today's session, that they know that you guys are coming from us. Also to help with the background. I don't want to say you guys are going to be looked after extra well, but because they always look after everybody well. So that is amazing. I'm quite sure that all of you are as amazed as I am, and I can see that there's potential to reduce the work. Ross, from my side, thank you very, very much for making time while being on the roadshow to attend to those session. I really appreciate it. It is, it was absolutely amazing to have you online. Thank you very, very much.
Awesome, Elise. Thanks for the opportunity as well, and nice to meet everybody. And excited to see how we can keep on supporting your clients and agents in the industry.
Thank you, Ross. So before I say goodbye, I know Ross has to run, but before I say goodbye, we are trying to do, thank you, Ross, keep well. Just to say, next month, I'm having Marisha Robas joining us. She is the only woman property inspection in South Africa. And she's going to talk about a bit of things that she's seeing on the property and how it can help not just sales agents, but also rental agents. So please look out for it. Put in your diary for the 10th of September. Then I want to try something new. We need to have some fun. And when I speak to agents, we hear these amazing, amazing stories. So we are running a competition. And the thing is, we want to hear your unforgettable rent-related story. If it can be funny, inspiring, unbelievable, or a lesson that you've learned, please type it in, send it through to us. It's not for a tenant. I don't think there's any tenants online here. I actually saw Expello got a very bad rating on Google for a tenant that we evicted. And I think we should take that as a compliment. But please email. You can send it either to competitions or to myself. Send us your story. We're going to start sharing these stories on our property polls, and we are going to give prizes because I do think we need to get enlightened. We need to learn from each other, and that's how we stay just make the industry fun again. I hope you guys got value from it. I would really love your feedback. The screening solutions, we are also having in October, Averly is joining us then, and we're going to look at their solution as well. I think we need to know what's going on. Everything's not going to be for everyone, but if there's something that can make our lives easier, we definitely need to investigate it. So I want to be, so please drop us the details. Robin, what you can do is if you can email me, you guys are welcome to email me. I can do a personal introduction to Ross, the specific teams, or you guys can contact him. Let me go there to the general inquiries. I want to say thank you to everybody's time and support. Expello is doing amazing because of all of you. We appreciate your feedback, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next month. Keep well and stay warm.